A very special guest right now with us is Mark Dantonio, my head coach at Michigan State for the years that I played there, still the head coach at Michigan State. He's in his 13th year there as the head coach. He's won well over 100 games now as the head coach at Michigan State, and that doesn't include all of his years at Cincinnati as a head coach. He's won 3 Big Ten championships in those years in the Big Ten, and he's twice been named Big Ten Coach of the Year. So he is a rock star in East Lansing and at Michigan State and is one of the heroes in my life. Coach, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having us on, Coach Kirk, and really sort of honored, very honored.
Well, I want to go back down memory lane a little bit, and it's amazing to see as the years have passed now. I was a freshman in 2007. That was when we first met. You recruited me and were the only Big Ten coach to give me a scholarship and gave me an opportunity. And I showed up in that quarterback room, and there were a couple other quarterbacks in that room. One was named Brian Hoyer, and the other was named Nick Foles. Brian has now played 11 years in the NFL, and Nick has been a Super Bowl MVP and is going into his 8th year. At the time, I thought, man, am I ever going to get to play here, not knowing that combined there would be well over 20 years of NFL experience in that quarterback room. At that time, did you know that there was going to be NFL experience in that quarterback room, or at times do you look back and feel like it was a surprise to see the NFL success of all those guys?
Well, really, that's something that we recruit to all the time. You know, we've had those guys there and you yourself. And I remember you started very, very fast. And, Brian quarterbacked that year. And then the second year, you were a redshirt freshman. And I told you that you were going to play in that, I think it was the Capital One Bowl.
Yeah, the bowl game. Yep.
Against Georgia. And we put you in for a series. And you took us right down the field. And can't remember what the end of that series, but I think you, at that point in time, I knew you were going to be very, very special. You got great leadership qualities, and the rest of it took off. Dave Warner was your quarterback coach, and is quarterback coach still currently here. So I think that's a very positive thing as well. But those were exciting times, Kirk. You know, look back at that time, and that was a beginning for all of us. So things were happening fast, and we all had our dreams of what this place was going to be about, and you helped make it special.
Now, your staff's ability to recruit, I always marveled at the way you would go find a player in Ohio, a player in Michigan who Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Michigan either didn't offer or failed to really go after, and you would find them. I even think of a Trae Waynes from Wisconsin, and get them and then turn them into really NFL draft picks. Is there any formula you operate by or a system you have when it comes to recruiting and finding some of these diamonds in the rough, or even just developing them once you get there? Is there any special formula you have for doing that, you and your staff?
You know, I think what we do is look for good athletes that are hard workers. And, there's a very, very fine line, I think, between guys who make it to the next level as yourself, or guys that start in college, or guys who don't, because everybody who comes here is pretty relatively the same in terms of their physical abilities. And really what begins to set them apart are the intangibles. So we've been fortunate to develop players or be to help develop the young players, and then they surround themselves with people like yourself and other Spartans here, and the competition allows them to get better, and the next thing you know, they're playing in a big game in a big moment, and you find them succeeding, and their confidence grows, and they become something very, very special. You know, Jack Conklin, great example of that, was a walk-on here and ended up first-round pick and an All-Pro.
Exactly. Now, speaking of one of those players you developed, Trae Waynes, who became a first-round pick, he's a teammate of mine here with the Vikings and is a phenomenal player. He'll have a long career. His speed is rare, even among NFL corners. And you've had some good corners through the years, going all the way back to Ronaldo Hill, some of the guys you've coached at Ohio State, and all the way up through the Darquezes at Michigan State. What made Trae Waynes a great corner, and what do you see from him in his pro career? Because I continue to be impressed. He continues to improve year after year, and I think he's going to become one of the elite corners in the league.
You know, Trae actually played free safety in high school, and he'd run the alley and tackle you, and obviously he had that speed. He actually, believe it or not, and this is a testament to just how people develop. We redshirted him his first year.
Yep.
So he played 3 years for us, but he was in the program for 4. I think he's recently graduated as well. But, he was a guy that had a tremendous amount of ability, but was just learning how to play at that point in time, especially at corner, because we transitioned him to that. The the thing that makes him, I think the thing that makes him really good is his, he's a tough individual. He's got
Yes.
great ball skills. He can run. He's got length, but he is a tough individual in terms of, he'll come and tackle you. And a lot of times people don't really want to do that at a young age. They want to play a skilled position and have trouble getting people on the ground. But he can do that, and I think that'll make him a tremendous corner in the NFL as well.
Well, he fits really well here with Coach Zimmer. There's a lot of similarities between you and Coach Zimmer, both defensive-minded head coaches, and you both want effort and toughness and to know what to do. And Trae certainly can do that. We have a very special guest right now joining us from my alma mater, Coach Tom Izzo, the coach of the Michigan State basketball team. Coach has won over 600 games at Michigan State as the head coach. He's taken the Spartans to 8 Final Fours, including the Final Four just this past year in the Twin Cities at US Bank Stadium. He has won 6 Big Ten tournament titles and 9 Big Ten regular season titles. As accomplished of a basketball coach as there is out there. Coach, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Well, Kirk, thanks for having me on. I'm actually sitting in Grand Haven, not far from your old stomping ground.
That's right. I love it.
We visited your new home up in Minnesota, and we appreciated you coming by and speaking to the team. We kind of didn't quite get it done, but we got a good team coming back, and I know you got a good team coming back, so let's hope both of us go deep into the playoffs this year.
Hey, man, no, I was so grateful that you would even allow me to come by and be a part of your Final Four preparation. Coach was kind enough to let me speak to the team the night before their game against Texas Tech at US Bank Stadium, and that was a thrill for me, and it was a thrill to watch your team last year. I was able to catch a couple games in person and then just obviously through the TV for the rest of them. And what a great group of kids. And Cassius Winston, having him back will be a lot of fun. And overall, are you excited about the group and the culture you have and the senior leadership? I would think you're pretty optimistic.
Well, I really am. We're going to be picked anywhere in the top 1, 2, or 3. And, we got to live up to that. And as you know, that's sometimes harder. But I'm kind of excited about it. I've got 2 or 3 juniors and seniors and 1 sophomore that have all started. So, we should be good. And whether we can withstand a brutal schedule early with Kentucky and Duke, maybe Kansas, Seton Hall on the road, all ranked in the top 12, that'll kind of set the stage. But I do think this team's going to get better, and we got a great chance. And as you said, Cassius Winston is kind of our Kirk Cousins. When you were here, doing it on the court, off the court, and in the classroom. He's a phenomenal student. He's a phenomenal kid, and he's going to be a Player of the Year candidate in a lot of preseason magazines.
Amen. Yeah, I grew up, watching Mateen and Mo Pete, and then I watched Drew Neitzel play in high school. Drew was in our conference, so watched him at Michigan State, and then obviously Kalen Lucas and Darrell Summers, or Draymond Green. Those guys, when I was there at Michigan State, went to 2 Final Fours, and so I had a great run when I was there watching. But I would say over all those names, and he's still got a year to go, but Cassius may be my favorite player of all those years. When you just look at the total picture, the person, the leader, the fact that he came back for his senior year. I've interacted with him just only briefly, but been very impressed. So excited for his senior year, and I hope he goes out on the highest of notes. So that'll be fun to follow. Coach, just a quick question for you. You mentioned Kentucky and Duke and some of those big-time schools. I always thought it was interesting and a testament to you and your program that, those schools, the Kentuckys, Dukes, Kansases, North Carolinas, they're getting McDonald's All-Americans, multiple McDonald's All-Americans, it seems like, every single year. And yet at Michigan State, it seems like when we get a guy like that, that's a big deal. That's celebrated. And yet you then are expected every year to compete with those schools, even if you aren't bringing in the McDonald's All-Americans every single year like those schools are. And I think it's amazing, and everyone realizes how impressive it is of what you're able to do with quote-unquote less talent out the gate because of the way you develop it. Can you speak to that and just the challenge it can be, but then also the challenge you enjoy about developing your players and having them take on those other blue blood programs?
Well, I think you said it best, and I think you would agree. It doesn't matter what sport it is, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, they're all the same. Experience does matter, and having some a culture matters. It's hard to get a culture if guys are coming in and out. And, Kurt, as I remember right, you were one of the last guys to receive a scholarship at Michigan State, which means you weren't everybody's All-American either. And and look what you've done with your career there and now beyond. And I think sometimes this day and age, the there's getting so many accolades early that some of these kids are having trouble dealing with it. In our sport,
Right.
God, we're recruiting 8th graders, 9th graders, and I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy for the kids. And I found a way to have Cassius wasn't everybody's first team All-American out of high school. And,
Right.
we had a kid, Aaron Henry, last year who barely was recruited by the Indianas, and he's from Indianapolis and Purdue's, but, he really came on. I think part of it is, hopefully we develop him, but I think part of it's the culture we've developed.
Yes.
And the way we've used the Draymond Greens to come back, and the Steve Smith and guys that in our program that weren't everybody's All-American coming out either, and yet has been successful. So that's what I'm so proud of you on. I've
Right.
watched yours. Kurt, in 36 years here, I've missed 4 home football games.
Wow.
And all of them was because we were playing either in Maui or Puerto Rico as your season ended and ours started. So you're talking to the biggest football
That's
fan,
right.
I think, in college basketball. So I've watched you grow too, and I kind of keep the same philosophy myself. Let's get good kids that want to get better, and I don't think that even changes at the pro level, to be honest.
Amen. No, I felt a great belief in you. I remember when I was a young player and still figuring if I could even belong at Michigan State my freshman and sophomore year. I just occasionally would rub shoulders with you, whether it was you came by a practice or I saw you on the sidelines at a game or the spring game, whatever it may be. And I just always felt a belief in me from you, and I think that went a long ways, probably more than you realize, and just giving me a shot in the arm and having confidence and believing that I could do that. And so grateful for the run. There's just so much respect back then from the football program towards the basketball program of the success you had and that we were trying to get to that level. And so to be able to know just down the street was an iconic coach and an iconic program. I think we really drew a lot of strength from that. And so we've always appreciated your involvement with the football program. But Coach, I always ask this, I go around in the offseason, I try to intentionally meet with people who have accomplished a lot or been very successful in different fields and just ask them questions and learn from them. And one question I always ask is to say, in your career or specifically in your time at Michigan State, what's the best decision you ever made? If you could look at a choice you had to make, a decision you had to make that was the most pivotal or the best decision you ever made when you look back now and see what has come of your time at Michigan State?
I would have to say about all the things that I look at, developing the strong relationships. I think everybody asks me, well, what is your strength? We've been a good defense team. We've been a good rebounding team. We've been this, we've been that. I said, if I have a strength to myself, it's I spend time with my guys. I think spending time gives you a license that you understand what they're looking for and they understand what you're looking for. So some people would consider me hard. I think the guys that go through it would consider me more than fair, because my job is to find out what they want to accomplish, and then my job is to hold them accountable to what they want to accomplish. So I'd say that if all the things that have happened, developing relationships may be the biggest key to why we've had success and why guys continue to come back. And, I think that is what I'm going to live with till I'm done.
Yeah, amen.
And that's where I go.
So speaking of being done, do you think about retirement? Do you think about life, what life will look like someday away from coaching basketball at Michigan State, or do you see yourself doing this until they drag you off the court? Do you ever have your thoughts go there?
Yeah, I do. I think about it. I decided one thing when I can't take red eyes from Vegas to Florida for the AU tournaments, or when I don't want to, I'm not gonna stay an extra year. I'm not gonna have a swan song. I'm just gonna know when I think I'm gonna know when it's time. I'm still enjoying what I'm doing.
It's great.
A little different because my little adopted guy Steven, he's a freshman at Michigan State now, so that could lead me to stay a little while longer.
Sure.
But as long as we're doing well, I do not want to hang on and watch the program go down. But I think the program is going to go up right now. I just love the culture we have. I love the kids we have. And you know what, Kirk, for me, when I am done, hopefully I'll spend a little time in maybe Florida or someplace in the winter. But my falls will still be following Spartan football.
I love it.
At heart, if I come back, my second life on this planet, I know I'm going to be a football coach. It's just something I live, eat, and sleep and love.
I love it.